All right, back to it.
Yeah. So honestly, I really wanted to do this like a lot sooner, but shit happens.
You
And
know
I think
the
we both still have a pretty decent recollection of shit.
yeah. I was gonna say, sometimes these things are better when you let them sink in a little bit.
Mm.
Um,
Uh,
I don't know. I guess this is your content, not mine. So I guess we should focus on you because this is like I said, this is my sixth or seventh or whatever it is, and
I
this was
mean,
your first
it is your first
class.
time at Amos,
It's
I
my first
guess.
time at
But yeah, I
Amos.
mean,
Yeah.
either way.
But I mean, this for you to take Amos first is interesting because, as far as I know, nobody that I know has taken Amos first. You know what I mean? It's always edge weapons, ECQC, one of those two classes because those are the ones that are more available, right? They're the ones that people do more often. So it's
Well,
interesting that
there
you
was
got to do
actually
the tactics class first.
there was one other guy whose name I can't remember all of a sudden. Bald guy, really fairly tall.
Big guy with the beard.
No, he had more like stubble.
Parker.
I think it might have been Parker. Just like really, really tall, kind of
Was
like
he?
soft spoken.
Yes, yeah, that's Parker. I think. Yeah, he was. Like he was in your group on the second day.
Yeah, no, he was saying that like actually he had done Amos first.
Really?
That was his first ShivWorks course,
Wow.
and then he did ECQC, and he was like, oh, so you're basically doing it the same way that I did it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's cool.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, oddly enough, I was always a lot more interested in ECQC than I was in Amos. Like, something I'd never really mentioned to you prior to taking this class was, I honestly, like, I don't know. I, like, Craig is somebody who I, like, going into it, I had a lot of respect for because I've done a lot of, like, reading on his work. He comes
Yep.
really highly recommended.
Yep.
But like part of me was kind of thinking just like, well, Amos is covering stuff that I don't know if I'm ever gonna need. I don't know like how practical this necessarily is for just like regular civilian use. So like I definitely went into it with like I wanted to go into it with an open mind, and also I didn't want you to call me a pussy. So I wasn't.
Because I would have. I would have.
You would have. But I was just like, you know what? Cody wants me to do this. It's both of our fucking birthdays.
Yep.
This like worst
gotta
case
do it.
scenario.
You gotta do it. The opportunity
Like worst
is
case
there.
scenario, it's just like it's okay.
Yeah.
But I actually went, and it was actually like really fucking useful. Primarily just for how it really runs you through your paces. It makes you do this shit under duress, which is something that is
Where else are you gonna do it? Right.
that's like it's not a fucking thing anywhere else.
Get anywhere.
And the skills were also super fucking useful. But like the thing, like my definite thought after running the first couple of evos was just like, wow, that was worth like the cost of entry and all the fucking logistics of this trip pretty much by itself.
Yeah, I never regret spending the money. Never.
Yeah. Like when I was first, like that was the thing that kind of made me reticent. Was just like I'm spending fucking $450 on a class that I'm not sure if I'm ever going to use these skills. And then I actually go and it's like, oh well, fuck.
Actually, it was awesome.
Definitely need this shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I was like, I'm super fucking happy with it. Aside from getting fucking food poisoning and vomiting my guts out for fucking 2 hours.
Just consider that part of the rite of passage. You know what I mean? Like nobody has a particularly easy go of it on their first class anyway. Yours was just maybe a little bit more difficult than usual.
It was definitely something.
It was something, all right. Yeah. Yeah,
but yeah, that shit was like, you weren't kidding. Like,
absolutely not.
But by the time it was over, I was just like, "Fuck, dude, I am so wiped. Like, just
Yeah.
physically, mentally, just all over the place."
Yeah, because we were, let me see, because you were out of there, what, at like 3:30?
Yeah, I
Something
got
like
out a
that?
little bit early.
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, we probably didn't wrap up till like, I want to say 6:30, and
Mm.
so everyone it was sitting in the class, and like nobody said shit. Like it was Blair. He was relatively talkative, but I'm pretty sure
Well,
he's like that all
Blaze
the
is
time.
kind of a talker.
Yeah, yeah, he
Yeah.
is. But everyone else was just fucking just dead, like just The Walking Dead. And like everyone just sitting there staring at their phones. And I was thinking about going upstairs to have like a nap before I came back down for the class to be over.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
but everyone was just fucking fried.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So I guess to kind of like give everybody a brief on what Amos actually is after he spent fucking 6 minutes talking about it.
Oh
It's
yes.
short for arm. Yeah, it's short for Armed Movement Instructors. It's taught by Craig Douglas of ShipWorks. Basically, it covers kind of traversing interior spaces where there, may be kind of like a hostile presence.
That's a good way to phrase
Low
it.
light
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, low light stuff is a component, but it's not specifically a low light course.
Yeah.
Guns are a big part of it, but it's not specifically a gun class.
It's a pure tactics class, as he would say.
Pretty much, yeah. So it was very much like a case of you're just pressure testing your techniques and learning how to kind of balance pacing versus what's the best way to phrase it? Trying to balance taking your time versus acting with
good intent.
Yeah.
Like doing the right thing at the right time is basically what the definition of tactics.
Yeah, and the thing that I could definitely tell between the people who didn't have a lot of ShipWorks classes under their belts, like me, and the people who had a lot more experience was just kind of like the smoothness of what they were doing. Like there was a start-stop to it. There was definitely like a constant change of pace, but there was still kind of like smoothness of the body language. There was very much a certainty in what they were doing.
Yeah.
Whereas, like me, I was constantly just like fucking looking around everywhere and just like,
yeah, right. Yeah, like it's tough to know what to do and when you're supposed to do it. Because there's so much going on, and like you look at a guy like Brian, who was there, and that was his fourth one, right? And like his decision process was lean, and he was streamlined, and he knew what to look for and how to look for it and how to gather more information than you or me. Like he's like, oh, I'm like, fucking Brian, how'd you know I was there? He's like, oh, this bullshit shadow or this reflection or whatever. And I was like, God damn, man, like I'm too busy looking at visually what's in front of me, and I'm like, okay, that's a door. I don't have the streamlined thought process to be able to pick out all these little things and details that would give me more information. But he's just able to see through. He's able to parse information better than people who haven't done it before.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff that when you're just reading the course summary, it's all like basic common sense, just like, oh, it's mount shit, whatever.
Yeah.
But like actually having to engage with being aware of your exposure to threats, trying to keep everything at kind of only like a 45 degrees of exposure, trying to, mentally engage with what you can actually see, how to kind of maximize the amount of visual information to get, processing things with verticality in mind. Because I remember that fucking time I was
in the bathroom.
In the fucking bathroom when I'm trying to slice the pie into that room, and I'm trying to see around the corner, try and get as much space before I engage it, and then at some point you just go like, I don't know, it was like you had said bang or hey or some shit.
Yeah, I probably said something.
You've been in front of me this whole fucking time, but I didn't see you because I didn't look up.
Yes.
Sorry, stand by 1 second. But
you're
yeah,
talking
basically just
yes, like I said, seeing what you need to see and at the right time, and like you miss all those details. Like I mean, that's the typical path of expertise, right? Like I told Craig that when you read about the course, and I'm like, yeah, I feel like I could do that. Like I might know, like I thought just like organically I would know what to do, but then when you're actually in the situation, I was like, I have no fucking idea what to do.
yeah, that's the thing. It's just like it's one thing to look at something. It's another thing to have the experience of trying to process visual information while under duress.
Right.
Because there's nothing more stressful than trying to clear, a house or a space when you know that there's a pro with a gun ready to shoot you
Right.
somewhere in there.
Right.
Because
right. Everything is sweet when you're just like when there's no oppositional force and you're just sitting there imagining like, yeah, fuck, I'm a wizard. I could deal with that problem. And then when those incoming rounds are coming, or even just somebody's there, or somebody's not gonna let you do exactly what you want to do, even just your mind state starts to change, and like it's like it's the same with all the other classes, just in a different context.
right. Because yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure anybody that owns a gun, or even anybody that like has watched any kind of like cool action gun movie has at some point, in the middle of the night gone through and just cleared their house like they were in a fucking action movie.
Oh yeah.
And that's it's not
like that. Yeah, it's not a simple task.
It's fucking stressful. It's stressful as shit. Even when the people that was the funny thing. Even when the people didn't have guns, you were still just like, "Fuck, this is for real now. I have to actually fucking think about this." So I guess to kind of get your perspective, what did you feel like you really like? What did you feel like you really took from the class?
Definitely the. Like I didn't get anything too cerebral out of it because I was too busy focused on the actual execution rather than like it was too. I was too bad at everything to be able to straight up. I was just terrible. It was too hard for me to think past what was immediately going on in my head, like right in the moment. Like, okay, what am I looking at and what should I see, and where, and like, am I getting enough distance from this, or am I getting too much, or like where are my exposures and stuff. Like the raw information feed that I was getting from looking at something is what is probably like how to get information and use it, I guess, is probably the thing that I tried to focus on the most. Because as you said, there's no gun skills in it, right? Like it's kind of assumed, I guess, that you're going in with a basic understanding. So I was like, well, I hope my gun skills are good enough to get through this class, and they were, more or less. I mean, I'm sure there's some situations I could have shot better or whatever, but just getting the visual feed right, and using it to make the decisions, and as Mike said, see what I need to do and then do it. That was my primary takeaway.
Also,
for sure.
There was a thing that that Craig said to you. What was it? It was control your emotional state.
Manage your anxiety.
Manage your anxiety. It's like, what the fuck does that mean?
Right. I was like, I don't know. I can't do it, Craig. I can't. But he would just walking through the little routes, and he'd be like, manage your anxiety, and I'd be like, what the fuck, Craig? Like I'm getting shot at and stuff. Like people are moving around, and I'm getting all this information, and it's hard for me to know exactly what to do. I mean, he knows that. He knows what it's like to see new people go through the class. So I mean, he gets it.
What I think that was the big thing. Like personally, that's the big thing that I took from it. There were like a lot of skills. There were a lot of things that I stress tested. There's a lot of like gear and training points that I realized this actually don't work in reality. But really, like the biggest thing for me was running through the scenario and just being like, okay, this sucks. I never want to do it.
Yeah.
But I have at least some of the experience and some of the skill set against like actual trained people that are learning the same shit that I am.
Right.
Where, you know, if I'm dealing with, the actual scenario against people who are probably going to be less trained than I am, I'm going to be able to maintain my composure a lot better. So my mental process is a lot more streamlined.
For sure.
So instead of being in the situation where it's just like, fuck, 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 fuck.
Right. It's better to find out in training than it is to do it in real life and be like, I'm totally unprepared for this.
Oh yeah, and I mean there are definitely those moments in the training where it's just like, wow, that sucked. If that happened in real life, I'd be fucking dead.
Right.
The safety incident which we discussed.
Yes. Yep. Right. Aren't you glad you had that at the class and not like in real life, right? Because maybe that would have been it. That would have been it for little Charlotte.
That's pretty much what would have happened. So. If anybody listening to this hasn't heard the story, so during the low light evo, I
the low light evo, which is when you're searching through the dark. Were there no shoots when there was no shoots in the low light?
There were 2 no shoots. There were 2 no shoots and 2 shooters.
So we're going through the dark on our route, which is just these little set of rooms in a line that we had picked, or Craig had picked for us to go through, and we're dealing with people that we're not supposed to shoot, and then we're dealing with people that we are supposed to shoot along that route, and in the dark too. So that's the premise.
Yeah. And so in this scenario, I started with gun in hand. I carry a CZ with a manual safety, and so the training gun I got was a CZ. I make entry into this room. I get light on the bad guy because I know where the dead zone where he's likely to be is. I index the target, pull the trigger, nothing fucking happens. I get shot repeatedly directly in the face and chest.
Oh.
And that's it. I'm done. And like I think like Mike and Brian was the shooter in this instance. Where like there was a moment where they're just like, "Are you actually okay?" Because I was just kind of frozen there for a minute, just
right.
Like,
because when the gun's not working, you just look like you're standing there.
Yeah. So it was basically this case of just like, oh, my safety was engaged that entire time. All of those reps that I've put in of taking the safety off when I draw didn't work. So, well, that raises a lot of concerning training questions.
Right.
And that's an experience that you're not really gonna get anywhere else.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, now I'm having to consider radically changing my training regimen, or entirely getting away from manual safeties entirely.
Yeah.
So that's definitely an experience. Also, I always thought all the lumens was a meme.
Give me the lumens. Put the lumens on me.
Yeah, but then I got hit with like, how many lumens does your flashlight have? Like 800 plus.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, that was shitty. And also just like having something that is going to always have that like really bright light under all circumstances. It's gonna have a lot of splash. So you can use it in the way that we're taught, where we're supposed to, not be doing the neck index, not be doing the fucking Harry's technique, but like away from the body, kind of like moving it around and getting a picture of the space of like kind of flashing it on and off. All the fucking lumens really works for that. Yeah,
it's huge. Like, because I thought the same thing. I thought like, well, how much difference could it make? To have, say, a 200 lumen light versus a 400 versus a 600 versus an 800, right? I guess a more honest comparison would be, like, because my previous light was a 200, and this one was an 800. And, I'm using them in the house, right? I'm like, I can still see. But you know what? If I brought that other one there, I wouldn't have been able to see as much as quickly and also have that same effect on the other person if I didn't have that all that juice coming out of the fucking light. And it was just that realization that, like, you know, the more light I have available, the more information I can get, which is probably a good idea, and it was worth it. You know, like it paid off in the end. Because I can't remember who said it. It was like Bill Blowers, one of those guys who was, you know, arguing that, you know, some environments, you know, a 200 lumen light might be enough, but there's some where it won't be, and that's when having that extra light available is good. Because I mean, if you've got too much light, it's hard. There was never really a point in the class where I thought this is too bright, I can't see. It just didn't happen. Which is something that people say, oh well, you know, you'll ruin your night vision or whatever. There'll be too much splash. It'll give you away and stuff. Never happened. Never fucking happened. I was always thankful that I had like that huge spotlight on stuff.
Yeah, some kind of handheld light with with a pressure function rather than being an on-off push button.
Yeah.
That's super important. And weapon-mounted lights are also super fucking important, but not for searching, not for what we were using that for.
Yeah.
Because you know, I ran into the issue of I've always trained around using either a neck index or the Harry's technique.
Yeah.
And I found that when I was doing that, it causes the light to be too close to your body, making it kind of a target.
Yep.
And also you don't want to be, because you know, you tend to have your muzzle follow where the light is pointing in that instance. Yeah. And you don't necessarily, like, especially in the no-shoot situations, you don't necessarily want to be pointing a gun where you're pointing your light.
Yes. Right. Yeah,
so,
not everything that I need to
definitely
see needs to have a muzzle on it.
Pretty much. But yeah, basically, it was nice being able to pressure test a lot of these techniques, realizing what gear sucks, what needs to be improved on, what techniques need to be ditched for these particular circumstances. Not to say that the Harry's technique doesn't have validity, like it's a perfectly good
I'm sure it's good.
shooting
I'm sure
position.
A situation where it would be useful, or so you might be like, okay, this is the time for me to use this technique, but
truth be told, you know, if I'm searching around, not really the best, especially considering that there was Mike pointed out there are multiple instances where I ended up muzzling my own hand.
Yes.
Because I was like trying to move the light around, but my default position kept going to fucking Harry's technique.
Yeah.
I've never been more aware of like my physicality than in Amos. Being aware of like how visible I was, the amount of exposure I was putting myself to, really, really a valuable experience. Super excited for ECQC.
It's gonna be good.
So, how much do we want to talk about the final Evo? I mean,
So, you know, the odds of anybody that's gonna listen to this ever doing the class are probably pretty low. But, you know, just in case, I guess we should say, so in the final evolution, there's a no shoot, there's a don't shoot yet, and there's a shoot. And we don't have to go in, I don't think we have to explain it much further than that, and we can just kind of like deal with the issues that we encountered. Because mine, I got really lucky, and Craig was like, you know, he pointed a couple things out that could have ended up in me having like a catastrophic failure, but they just didn't, because I got lucky. But that's you know what I mean. You know, I hate to use tactical truisms and stuff, but like, you know, they say it's better to be lucky than good. But you know, the more luck, the better I am, the luckier I get. But I mean, straight up, a couple times. Oh, here, you talk about yours first, and then I'll talk about mine.
Well, I gotta say, I mean, like, one of the big criticisms I've heard from some of my friends of kind of like assessing ShivWorks Evos that they've kind of seen recordings of is kind of the no-win scenario. But that's honestly, I feel like that's the only way you can really pressure test a lot of this shit.
Yeah.
I felt like the scenario that I ran was I feel like the only surefire way of quote unquote winning it without getting shot was potentially doing something really, really morally ambiguous. Of just like basically there was a point where I had them don't shoot yet. They were being compliant but kind of dodgy. And I was having difficulty, clearly verbally communicating, okay, I want to get them in a dominant position and, assess if they have a weapon and kind of go from there.
Yep.
But the truth is, even if I'd done everything and if I'd done everything correctly, all that I really would have bought myself is maybe some time.
Yep.
I never would have been able to secure that weapon. I would have been exposing myself to a certain degree of danger regardless. Best case scenario, had I not just straight up shot the don't shoot yet subject pretty much in the face, it would have been a situation of just like, best case scenario, I could have pushed into the final room, dealt with the threat in there, secured the no shoot, and hunkered down for the don't shoot yet to eventually come in and try to shoot me. And I would have been in a decent defensive position, but inevitably it was going to be a matter of I either shoot this guy now or I deal with him trying to shoot me later.
Yep.
And that was a shitty situation. It was interesting because Craig straight up asked me afterwards, just like, you had this guy in a position where you probably would have legally been in the clear to just fucking smoke him.
Yep.
But did that ever occur to you for you to actually do it?
Yeah.
And it did not, because he wasn't actually pointing a gun at me in that moment.
Now, did you see he had the gun on him though?
I hadn't ascertained it yet. I hadn't managed to get his waistband up get his clothes away from his waistband. Now, if I had ascertained that fact, I wonder if I might have had an easier time shooting him.
Because I did the same thing. I did the same thing. I didn't see that he had a gun.
But the thing is, though, like, the thing is, I knew he had a gun. Even though I didn't know for sure he had a gun, I knew he had a gun. Like, I mean, there's the obvious case of he likely had a gun for the Evo, but also just kind of a matter of intuition. Like, he was being just compliant enough to make me not shoot him, but also to grossly inconvenience me.
Yeah.
He directly lied to me at one point where I knew he was lying. And so it was a case of just like, okay, I know the second I turn my back, if it's not a gun, it's a knife. If it's not a knife, it's his hands.
Yeah.
It's gonna be something. This guy's gonna try and fucking kill me the moment I turn my back on him.
Yeah.
So it was a case of just like, it's really interesting because like there's nothing like somebody, well, at least in this situation, it's an actor, but there's nothing like somebody that you care about screaming in another room to just make you disregard the immediate threat in front of you to just go fucking ham.
Yeah. It's it was weird because what happened with me is I encountered the don't shoot yet in the hall, and he was carrying some shit that he'd got he'd got in one of the rooms, right? So he popped out, and I addressed him, and then I managed to maybe get his hands up, and he dropped the what he had in his hands, and he turned around, and Craig made fun of me for this later, but for some reason when I wanted him to move either away from this, because when he put the garbage can down and turned around, I couldn't see his legs, and I could barely see his waist, so it was actually covering him up. So I said, okay, I've got to figure out a way to move that shit so I can see what he's doing around the waist and stuff. So I was like, okay, mule kick that fucking garbage can. And he was like, what's a mule kick? I was like, just kick it behind you, you motherfucker. It's like, you fucking smartass, Brian. God damn it, man. But he knew. Like, he probably knew. He probably knew. He's just like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck with this guy. But
that sounds like Brian. Like,
yeah,
I like the guy, but what a jackass.
Yeah, but so anyway, but of course, so I screwed up here because he kicked it right towards me, and it hit me actually, and I knew it was gonna hit me, and I was ready for it, and I still kept my sights on him and all that, but there was just that moment of waver when it hit me in the legs that I was like, ooh, geez, like maybe if he'd made a move. I mean, he's behind me and he's got his gun and his hands are away from his waist, so like I'm gonna win that drag race no matter what because I'm already like on target here. But you know, like he could have fucking ducked into the next room or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, so what I should have done is I should have given him the command and then moved out of the way a little bit so that he wouldn't be able to get a read on where I physically was. And then, because I'm pretty sure he actually aimed it at where my voice was coming from. It might have just hit me by accident, but whatever the case may be, as soon as he did that, I was like, I fucked that up. I fucked that up there.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing. Like when I was running the Evo, there were like multiple moments where pretty much immediately after I flubbed something up, I immediately was just like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done something different.
Usually, you know, at that point, like when you've had enough feel for what's going on, you're like, well, screwed that up. Now I'm gonna die.
Well, I mean, that was the thing. It was a case of like I flubbed shit up, but I always knew kind of how to recover. And I guess that's the most important thing, because something I think he repeatedly said was, you don't have, like, you're never gonna do everything perfect.
Yeah.
But fuck, man. The thing is, I think I got a little bit too sidetracked trying to fucking interrogate the guy when I really should have just focused on getting his waistband up and getting at his gun. But you know,
like almost right after I encountered Brian and got his hands up and like I said, got him to kick that garbage can away so I could actually see him. That was when things started kicking off in the other room, and I was there. Like the don't shoot yet. He basically disappeared from my mind. Like if I'd seen he had the piece, I definitely would have grabbed it off of him as I went by, but I didn't. I didn't know for sure. So, and I couldn't see it, so I just fucking knocked his ass out of the way, and then went down to. And actually, I ran past. So this may have saved my life in a sense, but I ran past. I was moving so fucking fast that I ran past the room that had the guys in it, and then I was like, oh shit, they're all in there. But in that moment where I took that snapshot as I went by, I was able to see both of them in the room and figure out, okay, my fucking shooter's on the left and my no shoot is on the right. So when I peel back around this fucking door frame, I'm gonna see the shooter first. And then I did, and then he started fucking trying to get me, but like all he could see was probably my muzzle and my fucking like the top of my head. So I got him, like I got him with good like high center chest hits, you know, by God's grace. And then I ran in there, and Craig told me afterwards that while I was in the hall, fucking peeling this guy. Brian was like the don't shoot yet was like behind me trying to shoot at me, but his gun didn't work. he had a malfunction. Like it wouldn't go.
You motherfucker!
Yeah,
you lucky son of a bitch.
Okay, but so check this out. The same thing that happened to you happened to Brian.
Really?
Right? Like not exactly, but. You know, whatever the case may be, I don't know what happened to his gun, but it didn't go when he tried to fucking blast me. So,
that's so funny.
So like I said, I got lucky there, and I mean, you know, all this and that about like, oh well, you know, if it had been working, he would have got me, but it didn't. It didn't work, right? That's what happened.
No, like the thing. So fucking that bladed fucking
The
elbow
elbow shield,
technique.
horizontal elbow.
Oh my god, that was so fucking useful. I dunked Brian into the fucking trash can.
Sweet. Sweet.
So
Awesome.
like
That's
Brian's
good.
not exactly.
It hits hard. Did you actually
Yeah.
did you actually blast him like you didn't get him actually with the elbow? Did you get them with the point of the elbow?
I got him with
That
the
shit
point of
fucking
the elbow.
hurts.
Now the thing is, I didn't know it at the time, but Craig afterwards was just like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, it's good. Like if you're just like running high speed into a person with like this blade in front of you, basically.
Now that half second of, so I didn't run past the room. I actually like identified the room before I went in, and I was actually trying to kind of like work the corner. Apparently the shooter inside didn't see me. He only saw muzzle when I started shooting. But like I remember it as this like, I feel like I was standing right in the middle of the threshold, and that was the longest half second of my life of just like trying to ascertain who I'm actually supposed to shoot.
Oh yeah.
So I smoked the shooter, but Brian actually started shooting at me from the hallway. Craig said that, you know, it probably would have been better if I'd pushed into the room rather than trying to work the corner, but you know, my mind was just like, use the cover.
Yeah, that's what I did because I shot him from around the fucking door frame because that's just what happened. And he afterwards he said, you know, maybe you could have gone into the room, but then Jameson was like, well, if you'd come in here, I would have done the same thing I always do, which is just fucking shoot the hell out of you, and we just have like we just trade. So actually, me being out in the hall with that little bit of concealment is probably what saved me from him, but it didn't save me from Brian, which is sort of like you're kind of fucked if you do or you don't.
That's the thing.
You know?
Like it was a choice between frying pan and fire, basically. Right. And I mean, at the end of the day, all the hits I took would have sucked.
Yeah.
But were probably survivable.
Yeah.
As
long as you survive like the encounter and can call fucking 911, like
yeah.
you'll probably be okay.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I took out the guy inside. I had a exchange of gunfire with Brian. I don't know if I actually got him, but he stopped shooting at me. And basically got in there, immediately got the no shoot into the corner, was calling 911 when they called break. So, you know, it was definitely a thing. But man, so I mean, basically, so things that were super reassuring about the class, whenever it came time to actually fucking shoot people, I was really good at that. Pretty much won all my gunfights. So, you know, that's all you can ask for, really.
Yep.
Just basically the big thing that got me the whole time was nerves and trying to kind of figure out, you know, what speed I wanted to be going at. Because when you got that adrenaline pumping, it's hard to fucking think.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's the task. It's the task load. Like the raw shooting skills, especially at the distances we were at, is easy, right? Like it doesn't take, you know what I mean? Like I don't have to be fucking, you know, like a super wizard, fucking USPSA grandmaster, whatever the fuck, to just surround the gun with body and just fucking pull the trigger.
Right.
It's everything else that's going on that makes that job difficult.
Yeah. It's just like you can spend all this time, you know, squaring off, you know, at the range, punching holes in paper.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, it's different when the paper is moving. It's different when the paper is shooting back at you. It's different when there's a little light and you have to discern what the fuck you're actually shooting at and whether you should shoot it and how to, you know, keep yourself from even being seen by the paper, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, you know, what would you say would be your kind of biggest takeaway from the course?
Well, I guess probably what a difficult job it is to do that sort of thing correctly by myself. Not, I mean, even if I had people with me, I don't think it would have been like easier, I suppose. But just the momentous task of solving that problem by myself. You know what I mean? Like figuring out how hard it is to actually do that was definitely big for me. Like, because like I said, it's sort of like, well, it's just like these fucking guys that watch ECQC or whatever, and they're just like, I just shoot them. It's like, well, it doesn't really work like that, Like there's way more going on than you fucking think.
Yeah, it's one of those things like when I've talked about Amos with a few other people, are just like, well, why would you ever leave your room in this scenario? It's just like, well, that's not necessarily
because
what
the
this
world
is,
isn't a place where I control every factor and when everything happens. You know what I mean? Like
You
it's just
know,
not.
what if, if that bump in the night happens, what if
Right.
my girlfriend isn't in the room?
Right.
What if my little brother's, in another room?
Yeah.
What if, the situation isn't happening in my home? Maybe I'm in an active shooter situation
Right.
and I don't know where my family is, or I don't know where he is relative to the exit. So it's just like, this is shit that, yeah, it's not super likely.
Yeah.
Most people never run into these situations, but it's something that I think we, as gun owners and as people who, train to fucking kill bad dudes, I feel like it's something of a responsibility that we have to take, I would say.
Yeah. And like I'm not a guy that's a fucking piece of shit about it, and I'm gonna be like, oh well, that's stupid because it's like not like I know how to put on a tourniquet not because I think it'll happen, but because it could fucking happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not. It's just because it's not likely doesn't mean that it's not important for me to be relatively aware of the issues. And of course, it's unlikely that I will have to go through an entire structure by myself with my gun and deal with whatever I find in there. But I might have to go from one room to the other room to get a better position in my house to get to the top of the stairs so I can see who's coming up. Or, I say, okay, you wait here where it's fucking safe and there's like furniture to hide behind. I'm going to go out into the hall and look down the stairs at the door where, or see where the sound is coming from so that if somebody starts shooting, they're shooting at me and not both of us. Or,
right.
Any number of situations, right? Like it's so easy, it's so reductionist and shitty to be like, oh well, just do this tiny easy solution that doesn't reflect the way this stuff happens in real life at all. Like not every situation is going to be where I'm in the perfect position and I'm totally ready and guns loaded and everybody's safe and everybody's where they need to be so we can have this little like tower defense scenario. Like it's just not realistic. It's like in ECQC
everybody thinks, or sorry to interrupt, but like just everybody thinks, oh, I'm this fucking high speed operator. I'm always situationally aware all the time. I'll always have a point of egress. I'll never end up in this situation where I'm at a disadvantage. Just like that's not how fucking life works.
Yeah, a lot of people that fucking died probably never thought they'd be in that situation, or they would have done something to prepare for it. Like Tom Givens says that he has, whatever. I don't know what the stat is now, but he's got like 70 of his students have been in gunfights, and 2 of them lost. They died, and it was only because and he says they didn't. He says it's more of a forfeit because they didn't have their gun when they got into the fight. They just got killed.
Oh man, that fucking sucks.
Yeah, but it's that sort of thing. It's like everyone else who was fucking prepared and took the time and the effort to actually like get some preparedness. They all did fine. As I said, it's unlikely I'll have to do all of that stuff that we did at Amos at one time. It's not unlikely that I'll have to do maybe 1 or 2 of those things at one time. Like, I'd like address somebody at gunpoint, or move from one room to another room safely, or just use my, the knowledge that I have now to just pick a good spot to hide out and wait. It's because like every moment of Amos is it's just like ECQC in a sense, in that every moment is a micro fight. Every second that
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
Like every second of the evolutions, how we end up in that position might not be reflective of reality, but if I end up in a position like that in real life, I'll be like, oh shit, I've been here before, I know what to do, and I can make those decisions faster than being like, oh well, I guess I'll just make it up on the spot, and then by that time I'm already dead.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing worse, and speaking from personal experience here, there's nothing worse than realizing you're in a potentially fucking deadly situation and being just like, oh, I'm not fucking prepared for this.
Right.
I'm completely behind the curve.
Yeah.
So it's just like I'd rather over prepare.
Right.
Like I can't remember who said this. You quoted it recently that it's not a matter of the probability, it's a matter of the stakes.
Right. It's not the odds, it's the stakes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what I risk losing by not doing this.
Right. And it's it's a case of like, oh well, why don't you carry an assault rifle everywhere then? It's like,
right. Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess I'll just do that. Right. Like, oh shit! It's so simple. I never. God, I can't believe it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, totally. But
that way, I just get shot first when the fucking fighting starts. Awesome.
Exactly. But in any case, I don't know. It's basically, basically we're on the same page. It's just about getting the reps in. It's about building the experience of knowing what works, knowing what doesn't, and knowing, okay, I've been here. Yes. Simulated, but I've been here, so I know what to do here.
Yeah.
And going up against pros rather than against the people you'd typically be dealing with, which is
right. So it's like some 15-year-old with a gun that doesn't work, and he's in there. He's trying to get a TV. He's not looking for a fight. He just wants to get some change at the fucking pawn shop, right? Like it's not the situations that we're put in are always fucking worse than what's likely to happen.
Yeah, whereas in Amos, it was just like, we're dealing with cops,
guys that have been through the class before, guys that know the fucking deal.
And you, who just wants to fucking beat up BFT, so.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to bully you, basically. I was like, I'm gonna fucking shoot up Charlotte. We both got shot up though, like that. I was gonna say earlier when you fucking I don't know if you got me in the face or if you bounced one off the wall into my face, but when I had my light right by my fucking head and you were shooting at the light, I was like, oh shit, that's why they don't want you to have your light by your fucking head, because I was just doing what I'm used to, which is just having the light sitting here right by my fucking chin, and of course what got shot? My fucking chin.
Right, you get fucking used to that neck and neck shit, and it's just like, oh fuck, that's not actually a good idea.
Yeah, like actually, another thing I was gonna mention is that people say that Craig's low light segment is like one of the best low light segments in the industry, but he doesn't even consider it like it's not like a low light class, but guys that have done it, they're like, it's one of the best low light portions that they've ever done. And like, we're talking about guys who pay $1,000 or whatever to go do a low light class all weekend.
No shit. So, I mean that makes sense. I was just going off the fact that he emphasized that it's not a low light course. So,
I was surprised because that's how he is though, right? He's like, it's not a big deal, but like it is kind of a big deal.
War Chief's pretty badass, I gotta say.
Yeah, absolutely he is. Absolutely he is. His I like, that's probably one of the things that I thought I'm gonna have to practice getting good at this, because I'm when I leave, I won't be good at it. I'll understand the theory, but I won't be good enough that I'm like confident in executing it. So I've actually been practicing. Like I've been practicing with the low light stuff. Just like I said, just to make sure that I've got what I'm supposed to be doing down.
No, same thing here, man. Like I've been doing the same thing in my apartment, and also it really has changed the way I kind of engage with public spaces, because like I found myself kind of like trying to be more aware of corners, of depth, and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's definitely trying to actually see shit is it's more than most people fucking do on a daily basis. Let me say that.
Yeah, absolutely. My flashlight, I kept turning it on, and that's another thing. You were talking about the gear, like ringing out the gear, which is what happens at every one of these classes, right? Like My light, I kept turning it on at certain, like whenever I was going across a threshold or through, I would always turn the light on, and I still am not quite sure why. I think it's because I'm really in control of my thumbs when I'm standing there, calmly and not moving. But as soon as I would go to really put some energy into fucking breaking this threshold or whatever, my thumb would just go a little bit too hard, and I'd always turn the fucking light on, and I'd be like, God damn it! So now I've got a shooting issue theoretically, and I've got the fucking light issue, and I'm trying to, you know what I mean? So I fixed. I changed up my light a little bit, and now it's way harder to press the button all the way down. But that's something I'm glad I was able to figure out there, rather than do it in real life and have somebody light me up.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a big part of it. Like there was that thing, like you checked tape for some of the stuff, the recording you did, and kept catching myself going muzzle down when I was going through thresholds, when really I should have the muzzle pointed in the direction of the threat.
Yeah.
Different light techniques, which didn't work for what I was trying to do. Safety thing. Just various different issues with gear, just not really working for what I was trying to do. All just a lot of stuff that wouldn't have been able to find out of class.
Right.
Wouldn't have been able to find out without being, under stress and having other professional people just really looking at you with a critical eye.
Right. And that's the sort of thing that people who say oh, well, why would you do something like that? They don't get it because one, they don't do it. They just don't, you know what I mean? They're they just spectate their whole lives, and they don't actually bother to do the fucking class, right? Like you were saying, a lot of guys know who Craig Douglas is, but who actually shows up to his fucking classes, right? Not that many people. Well, actually, now a lot of, because he's relatively prolific, so people do show up. But everybody else is they see his stuff, they're like, I could do that, but you can't though. You know what I mean?
I've watched a few YouTube videos. I mean, right. I know what I'm talking about.
Right. It's not the same thing as mastery, right? It's not the same thing, or even practice. When you don't get those experiences, you lose out on getting those details. You know what I'm saying? If you read an article about it, it's not the same fucking thing as going in there and figuring out oh shit, actually this doesn't work when I thought it would, or my holster doesn't retain the gun like I wanted it to, or some guys have whatever $80 holster, and then they get in a fucking fight at ECQC, and then they go to draw, and then the gun's not even there. It's the sort of thing that you'd better fucking figure it out before you actually have to do it, instead of just assuming that everything's going to be good.
Well, there was SBS went to the course, and he tried to run the course with fucking SBR.
Yep.
And then he ends up fucking ditching the SBR maybe a fourth of the way through the class, because it's oh, this doesn't fucking work for what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. He said, actually, I emailed him after we talked with Rummy the other day, just to make sure I got his fucking story straight. And he said, it was too hard he said it was overloading, because not only was he having to learn this Amos material, he was also having to learn how to do it with a fucking rifle, which is not, the best way to navigate these small spaces, and so he had to give up on it, just because he was just proving Craig and the other guys correct. Those are his words. He said he didn't want to prove Craig correct, because as you know, I mean, you were there. He said that the pistol is the king for this sort of work, because you can do things with it that you can't do with other weapon systems.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. That's something I've always kind of advocated for to an extent, but it's interesting going through the class and realizing just how much the pistol is king and exactly why.
There's a bunch of stuff it was a thing that I understood theoretically before, but now I understand it in practice as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. You keep going. I was just I had to stick that in there.
No, that's totally a good point, because it's a case of just well, I've read Masada you, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I understand how, it's a handgun, so you don't need two hands to operate it.
Yeah.
You don't need to have, you don't necessarily need to have the light fixed to the gun, so you're not necessarily muzzling everything that you're pointing a light at. But also just like the ways that you need to conform to cover and concealment. That's stuff that I hadn't really considered. Because like being able to bring a pistol into compression, you can't do that with a shotgun.
No,
you can't do that with a rifle.
No.
You like basically at the end of the day, a rifle, you still gotta shoulder it.
Yeah.
You still gotta like you're kind of stuck with the length of the gun. So you're either muzzle down or you're pointing it out. And that's gonna be how it is. With a handgun, you've got a lot more flexibility.
Yeah.
And you know, now that I've actually had to engage in those spaces, it's like, oh, well, fucking duh, obviously.
Yeah, it's funny how people get fixated on the rifle because obviously, you know, 9 times out of fucking 10 situations, the rifle is better. But this is one of those times where it's just not as suited for the task, especially up here where our guns are really long by law. Like I've got my like my main dude's fucking SBR is sitting here right beside me with the fucking 8-inch barrel, and I mean that thing is fucking short, but still it weighs like 8 or 10 fucking pounds, and there's still a lot more for somebody to grab. It's a lot harder for me to use with one hand. It just has all these extra. It just has all this extra stuff on it, you know. Like we're talking about a difference of a fucking 8-pound gun versus a 1-pound gun, and you know, I know that I can fight with the pistol in my hand, and I can hit people with it, and I can do this and that, and I can still wrestle, and I can still blah blah blah. But like with this thing, like I'm pretty much fucking stuck with it. You know, it's just one of those things where, you know, we've mentioned it a bunch of times now. This is like the 3rd or 4th time, but it's just straight up like it's one of those things that I was able to figure out in the class rather than have to figure it out in real life and then be like, oh shit, like I hope I survive. It's better to figure it out
pretty
now.
Much. Yeah, I mean, now I know, maybe I need to switch to a fucking striker fire. Maybe I need to change how I train, you know, just like that kind of shit.
Yep.
And if I'd found that out in the real world, I wouldn't have found it out. I would have been shot. I would have been fucking dead.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you wouldn't have fucking made it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you really want to cover? Any other fucking points? I guess.
Let me see. There's probably a couple things, but nothing's coming to mind immediately. Let me see. I mean, that was some pretty good coverage there because what we talked about. I mean, there's not much to say about the classroom segment. It's like 3 hours. That's another thing that I liked though. I liked that we weren't pissing around in the fucking classroom a lot. He was like, okay, here's your theory, here's your diagram, and then you know everybody gets a piece of that, and then we're pretty much off to the fucking races, you know.
Yeah, like I was kind of expecting a little bit more class time, but it was
me too.
Pretty much the smallest portion of the thing.
Yeah, I got like
most
I got
of the
like
time we were out
4
there
lines.
doing it.
I got like 4 lines of notes, and then I was like, oh, okay, never mind. It's not much to say.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. With Craig, it seems like you learn a lot by doing, and you don't spend a whole lot of time fucking around. You just get to it, and that's really the only way you can learn this shit, by actually doing it.
Yeah, like he really believes in the Socratic method in that way. Like he would rather you just fucking experience it and understand it via the experience, rather than him saying, okay, this is why you should do this because of this reason, and then because you know that's like we were saying, that's what the people who read the articles and think they're the fucking expert, that's their way of learning, right? They're like, oh well, you know, I understand it because this guy said it, but do you really though? Do you really understand it in a practical way that you could explain to somebody who had like some particularly hard questions? You know, it's a huge difference between knowing it from understanding the theory and knowing it from understanding the practice. You know what I mean? There's a huge gap there. Because even if you're correct in explaining the theory of something, that doesn't really mean you've got anything more than a surface understanding. Like you could just you could be right about that one thing, but not understand all the issues related to it, like the gear and for example, right? That's one thing that comes up if you didn't have any issues with your gear because you didn't because I mean when you don't train you don't have any issues with your gear, or you don't learn any particular details or lessons, you just blah blah blah. I'm ranting here because it's just like my pet peeve when people are like, man, like I know the fucking deal even though I don't do it. Like just go to a fucking class, and even if you are correct, right? Why not actually make sure? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's just like I get the impression that Craig is the kind of guy who, if he actually encountered a situation where it's like, there's a different and better way to do this.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's the type of guy who would get super fucking worked up over it, like with his fucking ego about it. But like people just want to fucking talk about just like, well, I know what to do, so I'm not going to bother to question that in any way. Just like, okay, good luck with that, man.
Right, yeah, like it's like, okay, I hope you never have to find out how wrong you are because you're gonna be in trouble.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Fucking had a really good experience. As much as it sucked, I mean, there was definitely a point. I'm pretty sure I asked Mike at one point, could I end this Evo early just by shooting myself in the fucking head?
You did ask me that. You did. I was there. I remember he was like, because he was explaining what we were going to do, I think, and we were in the dark, and yeah, you were like, can I just shoot myself?
Yeah, I did not want to do that at all. I was so fucking nervous.
Especially that first day, because I mean, oh my god, it was long.
You're going in. I'm actually kind of glad I got sick the morning of day 2, because at that point I was like, I don't care. Just let me die.
Just end me.
Just as long as it means that this ends.
Yeah.
And so, because I wasn't so worked up about necessarily doing it right or about what anybody fucking thought, I think I might have done a bit better. But who knows?
It's possible. I think that's why Kristen did so well, because she didn't seem to care that much.
She did really well.
She was a fucking
like,
killer.
I was actually genuinely surprised.
She was a fucking killer.
She was just like, she just stayed she was chill as a cucumber the whole fucking time.
That's what I'm talking about. She just had nerves of fucking steel. And it's funny because I thought I overheard her saying to you, like you guys flew out here to do this? Like, why would you do that? And it's like, you don't understand how hard. Like, for her, it was just like a thing she was doing on the weekend. Whereas for me, it was like this big thing that I've been planning for fucking like a year. And it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I remember when we were talking about this last October.
Yeah, right. Like it's this huge long thing, and I had to fly and blah blah blah. And for her, it was just like another weekend. So she was just like so calm, didn't give a fuck, and that probably in the end helped her a lot because she was able to just be cool and do the right thing instead of having that emotional workup at the same time. Like it was interesting to watch because I was like, man, she is fucking like spooky calm, but maybe she just didn't really. I don't know. It was weird. Like it was really interesting to watch her go through it and just fucking slay.
Yeah, I mean, she. A funny story. So I don't know if. Well, no, you were actually. Yeah, you were in the fucking room for this when when she shot me in the hand, and so
lots of hand injuries, lots of arm injuries, which is funny because that's what they say is the most likely, but like. I got shot in the arms like fucking a ton of times.
Dude, I've still got fucking welts like all fucking over my left arm.
You think that fucking hurts?
But yeah.
Just wait till you get hit with the fucking Sims.
Oh fuck! I'm not excited for that. Also, because you're gonna beat
Ooh.
the shit out of me.
Oh
But
god, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
fuck you.
See, yeah, see here you
But
can't hide with ECQC. You can't hide behind fucking cover and like there's no ambushes and stuff. It's just fucking hands on, just beat down, fucking guns in your face. Oh
oh
yeah, it's gonna be it's
god.
gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
That's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Uh,
But so, sorry, what were you gonna say before that?
no, it was that part where I got shot in my
Shot in the
hand,
hand. Yeah.
and you were actually in the room. You were the no shoot in that situation,
Okay.
and so I went down, and she comes in and she's trying to fucking deal with you. And while she has her eyes off me, I start trying to go
Yes,
for my gun.
yes,
with my,
I remember
with my
that.
hand.
I remember that.
Craig got a laugh out of that.
Yeah, that was
But
tricky.
she still got me. That's
That was
the
good.
thing. It was just like she saw that I was moving out of the corner of her eye, and she fucking
Yeah.
smoked me.
Yeah, she was just like straight up natural. Just a
Yeah,
natural.
like I don't know. I mean, apparently she's done a lot of shiv work stuff in the past.
Yeah,
So
yeah, at least once.
yeah, that oh, just once.
Well, I don't know. I only heard her say that she'd done ECQC before. I don't know if she done it like maybe she's done it like 10 times. I don't know, but she seemed
yeah,
to be
the
like
whole
in
time
with. She was definitely in with that training group. So she's obviously got some fucking classes under her belt. You know.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of her. Like at first I was just like, is she just like fucking here with her boyfriend or something? Like she seems really disinterested in this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
I'm just like, oh no, she's like that's just the way she is, man.
So yeah, straight up. She's just a fucking killer.
There was a lot more. There was like what, maybe 4 or 5 females, including myself. That was
couldn't believe.
I mean, that was a little bit of a surprise. We all ended up getting basically put into the first group with the exception of one person. So that was funny.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
that was completely by accident.
There were. I was really surprised. But you know what? It is a shooting class. It's like not a shooting class, but it's a gun-oriented class, right? Which does tend to have more of the girls, whereas, you know, a lot of them look at the fucking hands-on, like, physical stuff. They're like, I don't want to do that, which I understand.
I'm not excited about it. Like I am, but I'm not.
You know, you'll probably feel the same way about ECQC that you feel about Amos now. Like once it's over, you'll be fucking relieved, and you'll be like, oh my god, that was so like good and enriching and stuff. But at the time, it was fucking terrible.
Pretty much, like that was the thing. It was like during the whole course of Amos, I'm just like, this is super useful. I can't wait for it to be over.
Yes. Yeah, please put me out of my fucking misery.
I know that whichever fucking ECQC event I book for, even if I don't fucking tell you, you're gonna find out and you're gonna be there.
I'm gonna find out. You can't. I'm in too deep. I'm in too deep with these guys. You know what I mean? They'll be like,
Craig's gonna be like, oh, your friend Charlotte is yeah, she booked for the one over in fucking Ann Arbor.
I'll be like,
were you want to
really?
go for that?
Yeah. So it's like I said, you know, I'm just in too deep with these guys, you know. Yeah. It's just you got to do it. You got to do ECQC. It's good. It's fucking. There's really nothing like it in like the entire, you know, gun community. Pretty much everybody agrees. Everybody who's about it pretty much agrees that Craig is the guy to do that kind of stuff with. Like there's a lot of other dudes who are trying to reinvent the wheel or kind of get a piece of the action, and none of them are taken as seriously as Craig is with that stuff.
Right.
And like I said, I did my first class of that type in whatever it was, 2007, 2008. So I've also been able to see the coursework change and evolve and improve over time. And like every time I go, I get a little bit more. There's just like some technical refinement that I get out of it. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is different than last year, or you know, he's added this, and every time it gets a little bit better. So yeah, I mean, it's fuck it. You know, whenever it is, I'll show up.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. The thing about Amos is like as useful as it was also a case of realizing that whenever it came time to actually, fucking exchange fucking gunfire,
Mm-hmm.
it was a case of it's like, okay, if I know that there's a threat and I've got gun in hand, I'm usually gonna win that fight.
Yeah.
I might get injured, but I'm usually gonna win that fight.
Yeah.
I know from personal experience with the kind of stuff that ECQC is dealing with, that's stuff that I actually really fucking need.
Mm.
Because that's like, you know, having to draw from concealment when you've already pretty much got somebody right in your fucking face.
Yep.
Having to go fucking hands on.
Yep.
My up close hands on, like empty handed, or trying to draw from concealment when somebody's already fucking on top of you. That's the stuff that I'm really deficient in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's even more
That's
intimidating.
the stuff that pretty much
oh,
everybody is deficient in.
wow. Yeah, but it's also the stuff that you most fucking desperately need for most people's actual, lived, not getting fucking killed experience.
Yeah, it's the worst case scenario, right? Like it's the worst place to be in, which is why you have to have that baseline there, and even if that situation never fucking happens. Like when you watch the 2-on-1s and it's like one guy getting fucking bludgeoned by two other dudes who are like taking his gun away from him and killing him with it and stuff. If anything, the lesson you're taking away is, okay, I have to do everything in fucking my power to never end up here, right? Because that's not an easy situation. It's not an easy position to get out of. It's sort of
like that.
It's sort of like in jiu-jitsu, like we say, the best way to escape a submission is to just never get in it.
Right.
If you can stop that process further ahead, like when this guy approaches you on the fucking street, which is the first part of ECQC, the managing unknown context component. The first part is actually the most important because that gives you a framework to deal with people that could have that criminal intent. Right, and that's actually the most important part.
Right,
and everything else afterwards is like emergency stuff if something happens and you screw up those early stages.
Yeah, that was the thing that I think I said this a few days ago. It's just like with Amos, with ECQC, there's nothing quite like having actually run through some of these scenarios for you to realize this really sucks. I never want to do this, so I need to really be cognizant of my situation to make sure that this never fucking happens.
Yeah.
Because just like running through those low light evos where you're just like, wow, this sucks.
Yeah.
Never do this.
Yeah.
This is awful. Yeah. And they keep saying throughout the whole class, there's no right way. There's no good, safe way to do this. There are just better, safer ways.
Yeah.
And that's no the thing that they drive home. And I imagine it's the same for ECQC. It's just like these situations suck. You never want to be in this situation, so work to never get here because you're gonna get the shit stabbed out of you.
Right. Like it's, we were talking about this already. Like everybody understands that you shouldn't, let people fucking get close to you and grab your gun and rip it out of your hands and kill you with it, right? Everybody knows that. The question is, some people are you actually prepared, and do you have any fucking idea of how it can happen to you in the first place, and two, if it's happening to you, how are you going to deal with that, right? It's like these guys are like, well, I just don't let anyone get close to me, like that'll never happen to me, and then it happens to them, and they're like, oh well, shit, and then they die. Because they didn't actually have any, procedure in place. They didn't have any tactics. They didn't have any understanding of how these things can occur. They just kind of thought they'd wing it, and then they fail, right?
Yeah. Like, you can't fucking wing it when your life's on the line, or more importantly, when the life of somebody you care about is on the line.
Right.
Because it's like you're not always fighting for yourself. You're not always, like, you can't necessarily control what your partner's doing, what your kids are doing, what your mom's doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta, be on point for them.
Yeah.
So basically, I'll go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, it's a lack of roundness of understanding. Like when people say, "Oh, you know, if he's got a knife or whatever, just fucking run away." Like, well, what if I can't run away? Like, what am I gonna do? They're like, "Oh, well, I guess you'll just die." Like, that's not a fucking solution, dude. Like, that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, that's not an
Right?
answer.
And
That's the exact opposite of an answer.
yeah, and that's basically the logic that these people have when they fucking want to mouth off about the training itself, like they have all the answers. Is that they really don't. They're just like, it's just like this weird form of like ego insulation. They're like, well, I don't have to do that because that'll never happen to me. It's like, well, you know, like we said before, there's a lot of people who thought it would never happen to them, and then it happened to them, and they're dead now. You know?
Yeah, they end up in the fucking dirt.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know, to just kind of wrap up, fucking, Amos definitely established how much clearing rooms by yourself sucks.
Yeah.
How much you don't want to do it.
Yep.
But still got those reps in, got that experience where if you have to do it, which you might, feel a lot more confident about it. Definitely might need to look into a striker-fired handgun. Definitely need to look into a light with more lumens.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely have to go to ECQC. So that's kind of my wrap up of the subject. How about you?
Yeah. Fuck yeah. That's
right. Cool.
That's pretty much it as far as I can tell. Like like I said, for me, it's just the decision made. It's learning to have a streamlined decision process and not be overwhelmed by all the stimuli, knowing how to parse that information out, and understanding all the risks involved and all the places I can be. Like I was saying when me and Craig were fucking leaving, when we were leaving the fucking joint, heading out to his car, I was like, man, I can't stop seeing this place in just like places I can be killed from now. And he was like, that's exactly. He was like, that's it. That's the Amos lesson right there. It's just how many ways you can die, and that's
pretty much.
That's fucking pretty much it.
It changes the way you view, a lot of different spaces, and I mean that's definitely not a bad thing. I'm really happy for it. Cool. Thanks for fucking peer pressuring me and doing it.
Out there.
Thanks for riding my ass to make sure I didn't quit even when I was operating on an hour and a half of sleep. Yeah, it's all good. And try not to permanently maim or disfigure me at ECQC.
Hey, I done this before. I never hurt anybody real bad. So I actually when we did Edged Weapons a while ago, I was going with this guy Colin, and I fucking kneed him right in the belly, and he said he felt it for like a month and a half. Like he was, I was like, "Oh shit, man!" Sometimes I get a little excited, but nothing like that. I mean, it's training. It's safe, right? It's fun. It's good. It's good. You'll be fine. You'll make it. You already made it through a tough weekend, so you know you can do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it can't be fucking worse than Amos. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So yeah.
I mean, if I don't get food poisoning again, it's automatically better.
Now, if you get it again, I'm gonna be like, "What are you doing? Are you doing this to yourself as an excuse? Because if you are, I'll find out."
Well, I mean, it didn't work, obviously, so
that's
I still had to do it.
That's a good point. Because you don't want to be the guy that fucking flakes out after. Or the girl that flakes out after the fucking first day, because there are those guys, right? There's those guys who quit. They quit after lunch, or they quit after like the first day. They're like, oh, yeah, it was good, and then the second day we're like, oh, where's Dan or where's Steve or whatever, and he's just then they're like, oh, he flaked out basically, right?
I don't think anybody ditched for day 2 of Amos. I think a couple people had to leave early, but it was all like people having to catch flights and shit.
Hell no. Yeah, it's like I said, Amos is just mentally taxing. The physical part of ECQC is the part that makes people quit. And plus, I mean,
my knees were fucked for a few days afterwards. Not gonna lie.
My hands were achy for a while just from fucking squeezing on those guns. That was about it for me. And like my back was a little sore from sitting on the plane, but other than that, I was okay. I was more just like mentally exhausted, you know, like just feeling fried and like, oh my god, like this, it's from all the thinking, you know.
I may have unintentionally made a couple too many dynamic entries where I fucking slid in on my knees or some shit.
Yes, probably. That'll do it.
So I was pretty fucking bruised.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. So thanks for fucking talking about this with me.
Yeah, it's all good.
You know,
it's all good. I hope you had a good time. I hope you feel enriched.
Dude, yeah, totally. And it was nice to actually fucking get to meet you and hang out with you and do shit.
Yeah, it was fun.
So
we had a good time, didn't we?
I mean, that was cool. Yeah, and also I'm actually drinking the rye whiskey that you gave me.
Oh, good.
And it's fucking bad as hell, dude.
That's good stuff. That's fucking good stuff, I tell you. I'll drink that any which way.
What do you think of the Basil Hayden?
I'll mix something. I'll have it fucking neat. You know what I mean? Make a cocktail or whatever, or just like throw it in some Coke or something like that. Like it's pretty much good any way you want to have it, which is rare.
Right now I'm just drinking it straight, but usually I just have it neat.
You can definitely drink it straight, absolutely. It's fucking good.
What do you think of the Basil Hayden?
Ooh, it's good. It was good.
Oh, it was good. So you finished it.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I didn't drink it all. No, honestly we've had like maybe 2 or 3 drinks out of it, just because like with a sipping liquor like that, you know, I like to make it last. You know, I remember when we first had it, I was with my main dude actually. I was like, hey, fucking, let's check this shit out. So you know, we sat down and I was like, okay, this is, you know, I get that kind of, there's a little bit of like kind of syrupy sweetness in the air when we were pouring it out, and I was like, oh shit, this, you know, it smells a little fiery, like there's a little bit of that fume coming off of it that made me be like, oh shit, like this might be like this might be pretty fiery on the fucking tongue. And then when we actually got to sipping, I was like, oh damn, like this is so nice and smooth and like just fucking drinkable. Like, oh man, it was good. I was so fucking impressed. I was like, wow, Charlotte's got good fucking taste.
Yeah, I honestly, the funny thing is, like, as much as I love that bourbon, I always end up buying it for other people rather than buying it for myself. Just because it's really fucking nice.
It's good.
But I usually don't stock it in my place because I usually just go right through it. And when it's a fucking, I don't know, like 45. Well, it used to be like fucking $50+. Now it's gotten a little bit more popular, so it's cheaper. But it still isn't cheap.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I keep that in my fucking apartment, I just go right through it.
Yeah, heard that.
But yeah, that's our idea of cultural exchange: Kentucky bourbon for Canadian rye whiskey.
That's right. That's exactly right. Next time, so there's a couple other ones that I really like, but I don't have them quite as often, just because they're just not the premium. But there are some other ones that I can hook you up with next time, and they're easily as good, but I just don't like them as much, according to my personal taste. But next time I can bring you the same stuff, or I can bring you something different. That's you know, actually I can bring you something that's I got a couple ideas, just because there's a bunch of ones that are like fucking really good. So
yeah, I'll have to see what I can hook you up with next time.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. We'll do it again soon. And try not to kick my ass too bad at ECQC.
No, I'll be gentle-ish. I mean, it depends on your opinion of gentle. You know what I mean? Like some people, they go, you know, some people, my 100% is their 50%, and sometimes they're 50. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, like I said, it's good, and it's my responsibility for dragging you there to make sure you get the most out of it.
Oh sure, that's how you're gonna run.
Oh yeah,
all right, sure.
That's exactly what I'm gonna tell myself. I'll be like, it's for her own good. It's for her own good. That's why I just
even when you're reenacting that fucking Sam Hyde picture.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, except I'll be shooting you at the same time. Yeah, it's gonna be
God damn it.
good.
All right. Well, I will talk to you later, Cody. Have a great rest of your night, okay?
Yes, you as well.
All right. Later.